the other way around? Or?
You know what? I dabbled with, let me say this, I don't know how anybody could work in media. But, I dabbled with coming back. I miss it. Like every October, Greenberg and Frischilla and I call each other and just commiserate because we don't have a team and we don't have a staff and you don't have the camaraderie and you really miss it. You really miss it. I've had a couple opportunities in the past to come back, and I've had a couple head coaching opportunities. Just wasn't the right situation. But Kenny, is it better if I do sit with this? Did that help you?
Probably.
All right. So what happened was, I think this. You all know that, and as I get older, I'm more philosophical. Like, trust is a big word with me. And for those of us that are married or whatever, if any relationship's going to work, it's going to have its foundation in trust. I don't care if it's husband and wife, parent and child. I have 2 daughters, right? Teacher, student, coach, player, or employer, employee. You got to trust them. Like with Chris Mack, I'm turning over my career in my family and putting it in Chris Mack's hands because I trust him. And I think that's big. So that was a big reason why. It had to be somebody I could trust with my career and with my family's future. And I've known him for 28 years. I coached Chris. So that's a big thought for me in coming. And for me, like, I coached in this league for 9 years. We went to 2 NCAA tournaments. I think my first year we were 17 and 14, and then the next 2 years we were 44 and 18, 20 and 12 in the ACC, and went to back-to-back tournaments. So I know this league. I love this league. I think this is, without saying, I've said it 8 million times on ESPN, I don't care what measuring stick you use. Historic, last 5 years, it's the best conference in America. And that's where I wanted to be again. So that was the impetus and drive of coming with Chris to Louisville.
Dino, you got to do about 5 or 6 games this year, so you know the guys a little better than maybe most. What about the nucleus that's returning?
I think there's a good core here. I really do. I think when you look at the guys that are coming back, all of a sudden their roles change from being role players to all of a sudden they're going to have to step up and play. What Chris said, and if I could reiterate his sentiments, it would be good for us if we can get a couple or one for certain graduate transfer that could come in, like they did with a Damian Lee and a Trey Lewis, that these guys could come in and hold the fort for us, not hold the fort, but help us move forward until we get a recruiting class under our belt. Because in the 218 class, there's not, on April, whatever the heck today is, not a lot out there.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Weeks ago, you were talking about the Louisville fan base and the Louisville program. You were very complimentary on television. When this came open, when this opportunity came open, what was the conversation like between you and?
As I'm doing the games, like Chris and I have talked a lot over the years. There was one situation where he said, "Hey, what about this job?" And I won't say the school. What about this job? And I go, "Chris, I don't know. I don't think so." I go, "I don't know what you have in common with ABC University that you would leave Xavier and go there." And I go, "You know what?" This is what I told him exactly. I go, "I would bet on Chris Mack. I would, he was contemplating leaving or staying at Xavier and still getting that next." I go, "I'd bet on Chris Mack. There's going to be a ACC job open or a Big Ten job open that'll be perfect for you." And so we've talked a lot. So I do my first game here. Might have been Albany, and we talk all the time. We text all the time. We vacation together. Christy and I and my wife, they're close. You know what I mean? We vacationed at the Outer Banks this year together. I can't even remember where we went, St. Thomas or something. When Chris told Christy we were coming, Christy called my wife and was crying because she was happy we were coming. So, I mean, it's a really close relationship. But I do my first game, and I call it, we're talking, I go, excuse my language, damn, you gotta see this place. It's unbelievable. And the fans are rabid as can be. And you guys, ladies, know better than me. I don't know if it was Northern Kentucky, Kenny, or the Middle Tennessee when the ladies played earlier. So I'm out on the street running. I'm at the Aloft Hotel running. And I see all these people in red on the street. I'm like, what's going on? The game's not until 7. It was the ladies' basketball game for the tournament. Guys are walking, to the game. Like, wow. So as I'm walking to the game with Anish Shroff to broadcast the game at 5, guys are walking to the young. I go, hey, what's going on? Hey, coach, you doing a game again? I go, yeah. I go, what'd you guys do? He goes, went to the ladies' game, had a couple of beverages, now we're going to the men's game. And I'm like, I told Chris, these people want to win. They're excited about basketball. I thought for sure when I came for the NIT game. They didn't get in the tournament. We all saw what happened against UVA. I'm like, this place is going to be death. That first game, NIT game, I was like shocked. I was shocked. So, great place, you could win a national championship here, great arena, all the facilities, all the people are involved, and it's, I told him I think it's special.
You mentioned trusting Chris Mack with your career. What gives you the confidence to place your trust in him? Why so much?
Well, like I said, I've known him since he was a high school senior. I knew what he was like as a player. And unfortunately, people really didn't get to see what he was like as a player because, the circumstances. 1 year, one leg, ACL, 1 year, the next. But then I coached with him. And probably the years I spent coaching with him at Xavier and at Wake meant more to me than what he's accomplished now, and he's accomplished a hell of a lot. With the 316s, the Elite 8, done everything the right way. So coaching with him meant so much to me because I would tell Skip this, man, Chris really got a great feel for things. When he was a DBO and he wasn't allowed to coach and on the bench, he'd say, Dino, man, I think we should look at this. And then I would say, Skip, I think we should look at this. And usually it was always right.
Dino, who was the first one to reach out about this opportunity? Was it you to him or was it him to you?
We had talked in the past about these other situations, you know what I mean? And when this happened, I called him and congratulated him, and I didn't want to put any pressure on him. I called him and congratulated him, and I said, hey, you let me know if something, because I coached. I think the most important thing Chris could have did, if Travis Steele didn't get the job, is bring his staff to Louisville. Those are his guys. That's how he won all those games, and that's what I'd have did. That's what I would have did. So, I think there's a little weight there to see. But to answer your question, I congratulated him and I said, hey, you let me know what's happening with the staff. I'd want to talk to you. Now if you're bringing them all, that's what you should do. That's all.
Maybe I should know this, but why were you out of coaching in the first place? Why did you stay in coaching?
I was at Wake Forest, and I think we did pretty good. I think we did pretty good. But I was let go at Wake Forest because I was told he didn't like my progress in the NCAA tournament.
He being
the athletic director. And what happened was, and I think it was maybe a little bit, I think maybe was a little bit of the biggest blow to me. In 2008-9, we had a young team. We started freshmen, 2 sophomores, 2 juniors. The 2 sophomores were Jeff Teague and James Johnson. Jeff's with Minnesota, James is starting for the Heat. We're 16-0. We're the last undefeated team in the country. We're number 1 in the country. We're the number 1 team in the country. And everybody thinks we're going to the Final Four. Coach, we got our reservations, we're going to get a room. I'm like, whoa, slow down. We get beat. Duke goes to number 1. We were 4. We beat Duke. But we still had a good year. We were 24-7, I think. So we get in a tournament and we draw Cleveland State. And we get in a tournament, Cleveland State beats us. Should Wake Forest beat Cleveland State? Yeah, they should beat Cleveland State. I know we should beat Cleveland State, but we didn't do it. And I think that hurt me a little bit. Then the next year, we lose Teagan Johnson to the early NBA draft. We win 20 games, go back to the tournament, beat Texas in overtime. We were the 9, Texas was the 8. And then we played our guys in Lexington, which Coach Cal's a good friend of mine. I worked their camp the fantasy camp the last 5 years. He texted me If I had my phone, he texted me this morning. But, you know, John says that might have been his best team ever with John Wall, Bledsoe, DeMarcus Cousins, Patrick Patterson, Miller was on that team, and they beat us good. And but then, you know, I was let go after that, not after the Kentucky games, but you know, and I took over the job, and under really unique circumstances. When Skip passed away, he died on July 26th. Funeral was, you know, 4 or 5 days later in Winston. We are into August now. We have a second funeral and the burial in Cincinnati. Now we're into August, whatever, 6. School's going to start in 12 days. I'm not sure I was his guy, but I know this. I'm proud, so proud of what we did there. We won a lot of games, went to 2 tournaments. We had 21 seniors, and Skip Prosser deserves 99.999% of the credit. We had 21 seniors, 21 kids graduating. We never had one kid arrested in 9 years. So I'm proud of my time and what we did there.
You know, what about the recruiting?
Nice question.
What about the recruiting aspect and how to get kind of dive back into that after not doing that aspect for a while?
Yeah, you know what's been good for me is while I have been out, I've worked a ton of camps. You know, with Jay and Franny, like Billis and Franny are now big Under Armour guys. They wear their footwear on air. So I worked the Under Armour camp the last 3 years. I worked Chris Paul's Nike camp several years with the guard camp. Like 3 years ago, Jalen Brunson was my point guard. You know what I mean? So I'm with all the coaches and stuff. Now, I'll say this. Luke Murray and Mike Pegues are really talented. Like, I'll be honest with you, they're tutoring me on this recruiting stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we used to have manila folders, and I'd write up stuff on the manila folder and stick it in there. Luke's going, Coach, we'll talk about how we're going to put these in computer files, and you know what I mean. But you know what recruiting is? It's like relationships. That's what it is. Like when Chris said, I didn't hire a recruiter. That's what Skip used to do. We were high school coaches. You could learn the other stuff. My whole staff, I wanted coaches on that staff. We could do the other stuff. But I always wanted guys that could coach the game, teach them the recruiting part. And I think that's what we have here with these with our staff. But really happy to be here. I'll throw this out there too. I am on deep watch. My oldest daughter is going to have her first child here, my first grandchild. And I mean, I got a text from my wife this morning. She's 1 centimeter dilated, whatever that means. So when she has that, when she goes, I'm out of here for a couple days anyways.
Where's she?
My oldest daughter is an attorney in Charlotte, her and her husband. They're with 2 different law firms. And I'm going to brag now. I'm a dad, so I'm going to brag. My youngest daughter is in her last semester of law school at the University of Virginia, which is, you know, one of the top 7, 8 law schools in the country. Thank God they take after their mother. They're smart enough. And then she already has a position lined up in New York City when she's done with graduation. But all good. I have 2 girls. My oldest is Kaylin, Kaylan. My youngest is Alyssa, Alyssa. And Kenny Klein is our sports information director. Thank you.